The rain hammered against the canvas of Jedediah's tent, a relentless percussion against the quiet desperation that had settled deep in his bones. Elara lay on a makeshift cot beside him, a left arm bandaged, a faint tremor running through her as she slept. Kael, curled near the dying embers of the fire, breathed shallowly, his young face etched with a weariness that belied his years. They were holed up in a shallow draw just north of Broken Ridge, a place Jedediah had chosen for its isolation and the promise of a moment's respite. The night before had been a disaster. He's walked straight into a carefully laid trap, a culmination of weeks of chasing shadows and piecing together whispers. The rider he's been tracking, the one who had passed the cryptic message between Thorne and someone unknown, hadn't led him to a lone conspirator. He's led him to a web. The message, a single silver button detached from a tailored coat, had been the key. Jedediah, remembering Blackwood's insistence on donating a coal to the local school last winter, instantly knew who it belonged to. He's been wrong about Thorne, terribly wrong. Thorne hadn't been a desperate gambler driven to theft and desperation. He's been a puppet, a carefully placed piece in a larger game. And Blackwood was the hand moving the pieces. The realization hit him with the force of a physical blow, leaving him reeling and vulnerable. He's managed to escape the initial ambush, barely, thanks to Kael's sharp eyes and Elara's unwavering courage. They're safe for now, but the feeling of being hunted, of being a pawn in a game he didn't understand, was a constant weight on his chest. "Marshal?" Elara's voice was soft, laced with sleep. She propped herself up on her elbow, her eyes still clouded with the remnants of a dream. "Can't sleep?" Jedediah asked, his voice raspy. "I keep thinking about my father," she said, staring into the gloom. "He always said that there was more to Copper Canyon than meets the eye. He said that some men build their fortunes on the backs of others." Jedediah nodded, the sentiment echoing his own growing conviction. He was right. "What are we going to do?" "We're going to finish this," Jedediah said, his voice hardening. "We're going to expose Blackwood for what he is." He knew it wouldn't be easy. Blackwood had influence, money, and a network of loyal men, but Jedediah wasn't one to back down from a fight, especially when innocent lives were at stake. He rose from his cot, pulling on his boots. The rain had lessened to a drizzle, and the air was thick with the smell of wet earth. He stepped outside the tent, his gaze sweeping across the rugged landscape. Kael emerged from the tent, his eyes wide and alert. "They're out there, Marshal," he whispered. "I heard them." Jedediah nodded. "They know we're here." He felt a familiar surge of adrenaline, the instinct to protect those under his care overriding his fatigue. He drew his revolver, checking the cylinder. "We need a plan," Elara said, joining them outside the tent. She leaned heavily on a makeshift crutch, her face pale but resolute. "We're not going to outfight them," Jedediah said, his voice low. "We're going to outsmart them." He paused, considering his options. He knew that a direct confrontation would be suicidal. He needed to find a way to turn the tables, to expose Blackwood's schemes to the people of Copper Canyon. "Kael," he said, "I need you to ride to Copper Canyon. Find Sheriff Bartlett. Tell him all we've learned. Tell him about Blackwood and Thorne." Kael's eyes widened. But what about you?" "We'll be fine," Jedediah said, forcing a reassuring smile. "Just get to Copper Canyon as quickly as you can." Kael hesitated, then nodded. He mounted his horse and disappeared into the pre-dawn mist. Jedediah turned to Elara. "We're going to find Blackwood," he said, his voice grim, "and we're going to bring him to justice." They mounted their horses, the rhythmic clatter of hooves echoing through the stillness. They rode towards Broken Ridge, the first rays at dawn painting the sky with hues of orange and gold. As they approached the town, Jedediah noticed something unusual. The streets were deserted, the houses silent. It was as if the entire population had vanished. "Something's not right," Elara whispered, her voice barely audible. Jedediah dismounted, his hand instinctively hovering over his revolver. He scanned the town, his eyes searching for any sign of life. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. It was Blackwood, flanked by a dozen of his men, their faces grim and determined. Well, Blackwood said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Look what we have here. The lawman and his little helper. You shouldn't have come, Stone. You're interfering with things you don't understand. You're a thief," Blackwood, Jedediah said, his voice steady. "A liar and a cheat, and you're going to pay for what you've done." Blackwood laughed, a harsh, unpleasant sound. "You think you can stop me, Stone? You're just one man. I've got the truth on my side," Jedediah said, his gaze unwavering. "Truth?" Blackwood sneered. "The people of Copper Canyon are loyal to me. They know that I'm the one who provides for them." "They're being misled," Elara said, her voice laced with indignation. "Silence, woman," Blackwood snapped. Suddenly, a figure emerged from behind Blackwood. It was Thorne, his face pale and drawn. He looked at Blackwood with a mixture of fear and resentment. "He's right, Blackwood," Thorne said, his voice trembling. "You're deceiving them. You're using them." Blackwood's face contorted with rage. He lunged at Thorne, shoving him to the ground. "You traitor!" Blackwood screamed. Before Blackwood could reach Thorne, a volley of shots rang out. The townspeople, who had been hiding in the houses and buildings, opened fire on Blackwood and his man. A chaotic gunfight erupted. The streets of Copper Canyon transformed into a battlefield. Jedediah and Elara fought alongside the townspeople, their revolvers blazing. Blackwood, caught off guard by the sudden uprising, fought with a ferocity born of desperation, but he was outnumbered, outgunned, and his lies had finally been exposed. As the dust settled, Blackwood lay dead in the street, his reign of terror finally over. Thorne, bruised and battered, stood beside Jedediah, his face filled with a mixture of relief and remorse. The people of Copper Canyon emerged from their hiding places, their faces filled with a newfound sense of hope. They had finally broken free from Blackwood's grip, and they were ready to rebuild their town. Jedediah looked at Elara, a faint smile playing on his lips. "It's over," he said. "Not quite," Elara said, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "There's still a lot of work to be done." He knew she was right. The fight for justice was far from over. But for now, Copper Canyon was safe, and the people had a chance to build a better future. And Jedediah, the lone lawman, was ready to stand with them, every step of the way.